Hey everyone, this is the first part of a series that I'm calling Conversations with Beer Bloggers, where we'll meet beer bloggers from around the country and finally put a face and a voice to the written words that we read every day. So here's our first interview with Carla from thebeerbabe.com. Hi Carla.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. You were my first interview for Conversations with Beer Bloggers.
I'm privileged. Thanks.
Yeah. So I just want to put a face and a voice to all the words that we read on the internet, all the great beer content that we get. So how did you get into craft beer?
I probably came there kind of in a roundabout way. In college, and I, was kind of hanging around other people that drank beer. They were all drinking really terrible, awful, disgusting beer. I never liked it, but I became friends with a couple people who had grown up in Europe. They were kind of from military families and had much better beer than what we were having there. So as we became friends, they would do things like take the bad beer out of my hand and go, no, don't drink that, try this.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I really got into it until I met now my current fiance, Mike, showed me Dogfish Head beer, and he had me try side by side their 60, 90, and 120-minute IPA. And basically explained to me that basically these kind of basically the same ingredients used in different ratios can make an incredibly different beer. Kind of blew my mind, and then we just tried a whole bunch of stuff after that. We ended up living near a bottle shop where I would just go in and pick something that I hadn't had, bring it back, and share it with the roomies, and we'd all, kind of comment on it and kind of explore it a little bit together. So it was kind of a sideways way in, but it started with just a couple of those enlightening moments that not all beer really has to taste like that awful, awful beer that, we remember from, the cheapest stuff you can get at the corner store.
Right. So you had like a craft beer mentor.
Yeah, which was good. But the other thing is that we were both exploring together, though. So like he, doesn't and didn't know, everything about beer. We just kind of had the adventure to try, and it was fun trying new stuff together too.
Mm-hmm. So you started your blog in 2007?
Yes. So the reason I started the blog was that I lived with a bunch of roommates when I first started trying beer, and we'd all talk about it. And we kept like one bottle from each we had tried, and like in typical college fashion, put them on on top of the cabinets and whatever. And but then at the end of the year, none of us could really remember like why we did or didn't like certain ones. So I thought, well, okay, now I'm going to be moving out. Maybe I should just write this stuff down, like because I'll never remember that one six pack versus the other unless I actually think about it and write it down. So being kind of tech savvy, I just thought, oh, whatever, I'll start one of those little Google blogs and I'll just write stuff. And so I started that in 2007. I think my first review ever might have been like Red Hook's Long Hammer, like back when they first released that. And then people started to read it, which surprised me. I just kind of thought it was going to be a dumping ground, for my thoughts. And people seemed to like the way that I tried to describe beer because I didn't have a big vocabulary of specialty terms or anything. I was just trying to, wrap my head around why I liked or didn't like something or what I learned about a new style that I hadn't had and just kind of grew from there. But it really came as just an aid to my pretty bad memory, actually, in what I know and I did and did not like about beer.
So besides writing about beer reviews, beers that you've drank, what else do you like to write about?
I have recently accepted another blogging gig with the Portland Press Herald, and they have me write about not only Portland, Maine, and it's Portland, Maine, not Oregon. So every time I talk about Portland beer, everybody goes, "Oh, Pacific Northwest." But I also talk about food and beer, good places to find great tap lists, and things that surprise me. There's a lot of really creative people in the small business world that are doing neat things. I just recently wrote an article about a new beer app that's in development to try to help you find beers that you might like based on your own styles instead of taking somebody else's word for it. So it's, there's so much creativity going on and so much growth and kind of a lot of new breweries. I like talking about new breweries. They're always, they always have just neat stories about how they came to do what they're doing and why they're so passionate about it.
Mm-hmm. So I know a lot about Maine breweries just because of you. Other than
cool.
you, I don't know
Have
if
you
I
ever
would
been
know
there?
much about Maine breweries. So why would somebody want to go visit Maine for their beer and not the Pacific Northwest?
I think what makes Maine an interesting beer landscape is that because we're not in that area that is the hop growing capital of the U.S. We're not in the South where it's incredibly hot all the time. We have enough variety in both what's up here for ingredients and our seasons that there's so many different niches that these breweries have begun to fill in. So we're not overwhelmed by breweries that do tons of IPAs. We're not overwhelmed by ones that do a lot of stouts. A lot of our history up here. We do have a lot of kind of English style ales being kind of the backbone. A lot of the older breweries, and when I say older, these are kind of emulated some of the English styles. But everybody new who's coming up just has this really unique perspective. I mean, I was talking to people from Throwback Brewing in New Hampshire yesterday, and they are trying to do all their ingredients within a 200-mile radius of their brewery, and they do barb in beer or peanuts, and just there's so much creativity because there isn't that one note. Not everybody's brewing for a certain situation. There's just so much, I think, open. And I also think that New England is a place where a lot of collaborations grow and form. We've got a lot of neighborly, all of our little states are kind of packed together up here. So there's a lot of, cross collaboration between breweries, between states, and we all kind of want to see everybody succeed. So there's really a very, rising tide lifts all boats kind of attitude. And I think that combined should just get you some really, really creative beer. And there's everything from all lager breweries to ones that do riffs on saisons to ones that just everything they come out with are great. And it's like there's just a lot of variety, and you can find something that you want, within that spectrum. I think.
Do you have a favorite?
I'm biased because I live here and I love it. So.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite one or two?
Beers or breweries?
Both.
I have really this summer. It's been a really hot summer for us. It's a little bit unusual that it's been this hot. We typically have a couple days per year that are pretty bad, but they're usually not until August. So I've been leaning a lot on the kind of session, like lighter, can drink them down quicker beers. And one of my favorites of the summer so far has been Rising Tide Brewing Company, who's right here in Portland, did a beer called Main Island Trail Ale, and they actually partnered with a group that helps to maintain a coastal waterways trail for people who are into like kayaking and boating along the coast. So the proceeds are going to that. But it's a light pale ale, so it's nice and hoppy, but it has a really light body, so it's great for when it's really hot. Mm-hmm. So that's been my kind of go-to this summer a little bit. And the proceeds to it are going to a local good cause, which I can never turn down. I've also really been digging some of the stuff that Oxbow Brewing has been putting out, and they're up in Newcastle, Maine. They're a little bit harder to find. They're on tap mostly down here, and they do growler fills up there. But they're the ones that kind of take farmhouse style ales and saisons and kind of do funky things with them. They have a flagship or two, like the Farmhouse Pale Ale I really like from them. But then they have kind of series that come out of unique, different ones that I'm always willing to try a new and different take. But there's so many breweries out here that are deserving of of recognition. I don't want to limit it to them, but I do think they're doing some great stuff, and they're always pushing the envelopes about trying good stuff.
Mm-hmm. I want to switch gears a little bit and touch on another subject.
Sure.
Women and the stereotypes around craft beer. So, why should women like more than just Hefeweizens?
Okay. So I'm going to turn that around slightly. So I get asked, a lot, oh, my girlfriend doesn't like beer. What beer should she drink? What's kind of out there. What I say for anybody who's not into craft beer yet is that there's some place in that beer spectrum that you will totally fit in. There's everything from espresso stouts and dark, bitter, amazing things on this side to things that are light, fruity, or just very, very thin or sweet, and everything and weirdness in between. So to anybody who's not drinking beer other than that thing that they remember from college, there's tastes in there that you can find really appealing. And I think that one of the problems that women have in trying beer is that they are never told that it's okay for them to try something other than beer. If they don't like what their boyfriend's drinking, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to dislike all beer, right? You know, if the boyfriend's always on the couch with a Bud Light and they taste that and they go, well, we don't like that, you know, just to not write off beer as a whole. And I think that there's, especially in the last 5 years, there's been so many more women who are kind of pushing, just trying stuff. You know, there's a lot more women going to festivals, you know, where you can sample a lot of different beer without, you know, paying per pint, you know, for something you may or may not like. There's also a lot of groups of women that are getting together to kind of find a mutual places to talk about beer. But I do think the one thing I don't love is that there is no particular style that I can, you know, give to a woman that will automatically make her like beer. It's just everybody's tastes are as individual as, you know, each person. But there are entry-level styles for anybody trying to get into craft beer, and usually that are as far away from what regular beer tastes like, in my opinion. So Hefeweizens are a good place for some people to start because they're sweeter, they're fruitier, they're not bitter, they're not drying on the tongue. They're kind of very, you know, wild. But then again, so is a really good stout if you're into, you know, kind of the richer, you know, plum, chocolate, coffee kind of, you know, land. And you can start there. There's a lot of different notes you can hit, but you got to know what you like in the first place. You know, what are they drinking now? What do they not like now?
Right.
You know,
right.
so you know, I'm just trying to give people some options. And but I'm always happy to see more and more women joining the ranks of beer drinkers because beer is good. I mean, we should all be enjoying beer.
That's right. Yeah. So now, where can people find you? Your website, your Twitter handle, anywhere else?
Sure. So I'm writing. My website is thebeerbabe.com. From there, you can also link to the Portland Press Herald's website if you're not local, like if that's not your local paper. But from the Press's website, I do have a blog on there, but I cross post so that you can see all the posts from both. And that's thebeerbabe.com. I'm also really, really active on Twitter, kind of probably too active on Twitter. So if you're not ready for, you know, lots and lots of tweets about beer, my Twitter handle is @beerbabe, just plain old @beerbabe. I'm also on Facebook with the username thebeerbabe on Facebook. You can find that there. And I also have an Instagram account, but that's actually under my name. I wasn't smart enough to make that Beer Babe, so I'll have to switch that one over, but that one's Carla Jean 42, so I've been following a lot of breweries lately and drooling over all of the cool pictures of beer that everybody posts on Instagram all the time. Haven't used that quite as much, but my biggest avenue is probably my website and Twitter @Beer Babe.
Great. Thank you very much, Carla. You were a
Absolutely.
great first interview.